Welcome to the Baseball Insiders. I am Adam Weinrib, joined, as always, by fan-sided MLB insider Robert Murray. Happy Wednesday, happy New Year's Eve, happy final show of 2025, final live stream of the year on the channel. We appreciate everybody joining us. We appreciate all you've done for us all year, but we definitely appreciate you coming to hang out today as we try to conclude some of these free agent and trade processes before the ball drops. Not Aaron Judge in the 2024 World Series style, but the big glowing one in Times Square. And we finally get some clarity on where some of these rosters. We're like 2 months less than from spring training, and all the big names are still on the market. Many of the big trade names are still on the market. Some Japanese players, some of whom have to sign by Friday. We don't know much about their market yet. So I've got Robert here with me to talk me through it and to answer all of your questions. Please drop them off. I already see some of you asking about the things that we intend to talk about on the show. But before we get into it, Robert Murray, Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year. It feels good being here with you guys. Happy Hump Day, everybody. So it's Hump Day and New Year on the same day. How crazy is that? But yeah, there's not much movement overall in the market. We had a signing today by the Giants bolstering their rotation even more. But as far as actual moves are concerned, not really much has happened overall. But that being said, I do expect things to change here in the coming days, especially with some of these Japanese free agents coming over and their deadlines getting closer. So I'm anxious to dive into that and much more. But good to be here with you, Adam. How are we doing? Happy New Year. Happy Hump Day.
Good to be here. Nowhere else I would rather be than with you and then with the people who are watching and tuning in or listening. If you haven't subscribed, rated, reviewed on your favorite podcast platform, what are you waiting for? If you have not liked this YouTube video channel, subscribe here. Hit the join button. You can join us in the Discord. Head to the All-Star tier. That's where Robert does a private Q&A answering your questions. That's where a lot of business goes down. You can learn some fun tidbits about what's going on behind the scenes. It seems like a slumbery offseason just because stuff's not getting done, but there's plenty going back and forth. I want to start here. A lot of players in the comments, of course. I feel like I had to start with Tatsuya Imai just because January 2nd is the day. Robert's going to be here on January 2nd. I'm going to be moving. This is my last show before the Imai posting deadline. And I don't know anything about his market. Nothing at all. I saw Yankees and Cubs for multiple weeks, but then Jack Curry keeps insisting the Yankees are just not even, there's no connection. Nobody's interested. Not hearing much between those two sides. Cubs, not hearing much. Phillies, Mets, these teams that were connected to him early. The Giants don't want to sign a pitcher to a multi-year deal. They just signed Tyler Mahle today. You've got teams like the White Sox creeping in. The comment section bringing the Braves up. I've seen them thrown around on Twitter a little bit in the last 24 hours. Tatsuya Imai is here in the comment section, according to, there you go, just saying, yo, he could really help us out if you wanted to tell us who he intended to sign with, but apparently he just wants to say what's up. So what's up to you, Tatsuya Imai? Robert, what does the market look like? Which is, again, got to come to a decision too. Got to take a physical. Got to finish these meetings. Got to figure this out.
Yeah, and the fact that he still has to take a physical with the team would make me think that we're going to have clarity here much sooner rather than later, which obviously his deadline is the 2nd. But still, like, you would think there'd be some clarity here maybe in the next 24 hours. And as far as what his market looks like, it's kind of a mystery at this point because – I mean, the Cubs, they really have not spent much at all this offseason. They haven't really shown a willingness to spend big. And I know that's frustrated some folks around the league, free agents and whatnot there. So you don't know what their candidacy is. The Phillies, I haven't heard much buzz with them. The Yankees, I haven't heard much buzz with them about Imai as well. So what exactly does this look like? There's been reports connecting him to the Chicago White Sox. I kind of think that's not overly likely at this point. Could a team like the Boston Red Sox get involved? Like, who knows? So there's a lot of uncertainty here regarding Imai. That being said, like, there's people who do have questions about him, whether is he a starter, is he a reliever, like what exactly is he? He's a very talented guy. I can very much say that, but I don't have a feel for where he's going to go. But I do have a feeling that some of the teams that I just listed are much more on the unlikely side than anything else.
Yeah, it's just wild to have so little of the market determined. Usually we've got this down to a mental final two, and we're, for better or worse, we think we know what's going on, and we're just, okay, it's probably going to be one of these guys. Let's see who wins the bidding. We know the interested parties. This time around, we don't know much of anything, which is why you've seen the White Sox crop up, why you've seen these Braves rumors I would usually dismiss out of hand, but this time I go, you know what? Fair, fine. Hey, maybe they are interested. The next time you see a Baseball Insider show, you'll probably know where Tatsuya Imai goes. But for now, same as it ever was. The teams that have been connected to him are largely not great fits and haven't been heard from in quite a while, it sounds like.
No, for sure. And also we've seen the Giants connection here, and like we're seeing it in the comments here as well. They have 5 starters as is after signing Tyler Mahle. I'm not going to rule out another starting pitcher for the Giants, but what that signing does for them and getting Mahle, it gives them 5 starters, but it also gives them the ability of being picky when it comes to free agency here. I mean, maybe they can add another one, but if they don't, they don't necessarily have to. They can address some other areas of the roster. I think the trade market is going to be something that they really try to look at in San Francisco there. But I would be surprised if they got Imai. So I'm not expecting that, but who knows?
Now on to a couple of recent movers, and I want you to tell me if these are something, nothing. I mean, first of all, for the Angels fans in the chat, it's got to feel good that Anthony Rendon's contract situation is cleared up. Kinda, he still has a roster spot, but that payment's getting deferred for the next 3 to 5 years. And you'd have to think that helps the Angels, whether it's this offseason, next offseason, beyond. You have long connected them to Cody Bellinger, maybe standing on the periphery of that market. But hey, now you've got, I think the miscalculation here is that it was just 1 year of Rendon. So it's not like they got out of 4 or 5 years of him and all of a sudden, like, oh, they'll definitely be authorized to make a 7-year move. But thoughts on what it means to finally be able to kick that money down the curb and what Artie and Perry sort of regroup and figure out from this point forward.
Yeah, this is one that the Angels have wanted to have happen for quite some time. That signing would, I think you could put that up there with the worst signing in baseball history. It never worked out at all. He was hurt. He missed a lot of time for them, and that was $200+ million that was just horrifically spent. As far as what this means for them going forward, it gives them flexibility for sure. But as you said, it wasn't like a few years left on his contract. It was still only 1 season. So I'm not expecting them to go absolutely bonkers. It definitely opens up some different things for them to explore now and also going forward as well. But as far as like a Bellinger type goes, like, could I see Artie Moreno falling in love with a player like that? Like, for sure. Well, if there's 2 things we know about Artie, one, and Adam's going to know this one off the top of his head immediately, is unpredictable. Like, you never know with Artie. But the number 2 thing is he loves offense, and he loves Los Angeles or loves California. He's thrived in California before, and I think that'd be, if they could make a splash, I think that'd be an awesome move for the Angels. That being said, the number 1 prerequisite for Bellinger this offseason has been going out and has been going to a winner. And the Angels are not close to that. So that unless they had like drastically overpaid for a guy like Bellinger, I have a hard time seeing him go there. But as far as Bellinger goes, I still think a reunion with the Yankees is the most likely outcome here. That was really bad English by me. But yeah, it's the most likely outcome here. But I don't know. Like, the Angels, like, they'll address some different things, but I don't know if we're going to see the big splash. That's what I can say right now.
Yeah, I'm confused, but again, clearing up Rendon, it gets sort of a stink off the roster, even though he's still on the roster. He should hop into a game and just sort of see how it feels. No, judging by what we know about Rendon, the last thing he wants to do is play a baseball game. But hey, the Angels are trying to figure out what the next steps look like. The Dodgers are the team, and they're always going to be the team in LA, in that region, that could do something significant or insignificant, and fans will claim that the insignificant thing is significant because they're so scared of what the Dodgers are capable of. Over the last 3 weeks or so, we had Andrew Friedman saying, we've got something, we want offensive and defensive versatility. We're working on something, could take a while, but hey, you never know. That's our next plan. And everybody's feelers immediately go up. The Paul Dano meme, what does he know? And then we get to this past week. They traded Esteury Ruiz, who most people probably forgot was on their 40-man roster, to Miami for a young pitching prospect, an international signee, to clean up a 40-man roster spot. And for most teams, you would just look at that and go, okay, so they're doing some housekeeping. Fine. They had no use for Ruiz. Great. He'll probably go to 5 teams this year, get DFA added again. But watching the Dodgers, Dodger fans and Dodgers haters automatically go to, okay, what's this 40-man roster spot for? What are they scheming up? So I ask you, significant, not significant? I mean, are the Dodgers scheming anything to fill this spot, or are they just cleaning up the roster knowing that, hey, eventually they're obviously going to make some player moves?
It's funny. After that trade got reported yesterday, which good job by Francis Romero on that. I got a text immediately from a really good friend of mine. His name is Grant. I'll give Grant a shout out here. And he's a Dodgers fan. And he asked me, what are the Dodgers doing? Does that mean Kyle Tucker's coming? And I had other people around the league ask me like very similar things. It does not mean that Kyle Tucker's coming. It does not mean that they have a star on the way right now. But what I can confidently say is that at the winter meetings, they did not rule out making another splash, and this gives them flexibility on the roster to add some to a different area. But I'm not going to rule out them going out and getting a Tucker or like a star level player. If there's one thing we've learned about the Dodgers, it's whenever there's a star level player available, they will explore it, and most oftentimes they don't miss. Which that if I was a team lurking on Tucker or any of these other players that are still out there, that would be in the back of my mind and have me slightly concerned. But I don't believe any signing like that is imminent as of this point. But I know, like, despite like the lack of reporting, there's still plenty of interest in a guy like Kyle Tucker. Does he take a long-term contract? I saw Jeff Passan float the idea of maybe a short-term contract that allows him to get to free agency next year. Who knows? Or I think he said that with either him or Bo Bichette. I don't know, but like you can pin that with any of these guys because we've seen Bregman do it. We've seen some others do it and really succeed with it. But when it comes to the Dodgers, I'm not ruling out any star players. But like as far as the likelihood goes, I don't think anybody knows as of this point.
And the longer the Tucker market goes, the stranger it gets for me, though. I mean, you heard the Blue Jays overtures early in the offseason, and you thought, okay, here's where we build. Now we get 3-4 more other teams in the mix on a long-term deal, and then this narrows to 3, then 2, and then eventually he lands somewhere. We heard the Blue Jays, we heard the meetings, and then we've heard absolutely nothing, which leads me to believe, okay, if the Dodgers are only interested in a short-term high AAV, and we know nothing beyond the Blue Jays' initial interest, then maybe it is more likely that he settles there than a guy like Bo Bichette, than a guy like Cody Bellinger, who's already been there, done that. I don't know. You know, again, like you said, nothing imminent, but I do think that's the reason why everyone's freaking, because they just, I mean, the Tucker market, we know it's not quiet, just like we know Imai is not quiet, but we look around and we go, okay, so I can't figure out who's going to make it loud other than the Dodgers, so I'm just going to pencil them in here.
No, for sure. And also, I want to go to a comment down here that says that the Dodgers missed on Conforto and Tanner Scott. Like, yeah, Conforto was a miss. Like, he was really bad there last year. And Tanner Scott did not live up to that contract for the first year at all. I am very curious, though, to see exactly – because Edwin Diaz is going to be the ninth inning guy there. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You get Scott back into the eighth inning, I have a feeling we're going to end up seeing a different Tanner Scott next year. I'm calling my shot on that right now. I think he's going to end up having a nice bounce back season in LA. So mark me down for that, but I wanted to address that and put that on the record here before the new year starts.
Yeah, and you're going to lose Roki Sasaki from the bullpen, probably, because you don't want to just pigeonhole him into the eighth inning role or the future closer role. Obviously, that's been taken by Edwin Diaz. So, hey, we'll see what happens, but I do think Scott's going to be important, and we'll see if it works. Here is and I think this ties into what I want to talk. I see the super chat. I want to make sure we don't lose it. So Bichette to Boston feels like a Breslow move, says George Hoyos. Bregman to Boston feels like a little more of a Breslow move to me, considering Breslow already did that. But hey, we have a little more clarity on Ketel Marte, I think. And all of this starts from Ketel Marte, because we know the Red Sox want to upgrade. Wilson Contreras, a great start, locks down a position. He had a lot of uncertainty at last year. Bregman was there last year. The leadership was essential. So they say, do they want to pay him for more than 3 years? Do they want to commit themselves long-term? Who knows? If they don't, but they need that bat, Bichette or Ketel Marte on his really tradable $100 million deal or whatnot would fit. Mike Hazen indicated yesterday that this is closer to a resolution than it was before, and that odds are that means we've explored, we didn't get what we wanted, and he's going to stay put, which would presumably also take them out on Alex Bregman from the tea leaves that we've read. Marte last night posted an Instagram story basically laughing at the idea that he'd been a bad teammate, because I guess he high-fived Corbin Carroll one time in a photo. I'm not sure if that really made his point. Yeah, great teammate. He has the ability to do this. He has the ability to get photographed doing this. You can slap him 5 if you want. I don't know what that meant. If that meant one last act of aggression against the Diamondbacks, or just, hey, we're closer to settling this whole thing. But it sounds like he's staying put. It sounds like Bregman probably not the likeliest Diamondback. And it sounds like Boston and Toronto now sorting through Bichette and Bregman, and Chicago looking at Bregman. So what's your read on Marte's effect on the market, I guess, is this question. And is he good at high fives?
Apparently he's very good at high fives because there's photographic evidence of it. So good job by Ketel Marte. But I said it before, and I'll say it again. When Nick Piccolo wrote that story in the Arizona Republic, I had zero doubt in my mind it was right. There's not many people who are more plugged in on a beat than Nick Piccolo. And I have not heard any denials about what he wrote whatsoever. So good job by Nick. But the Diamondbacks have wanted clarity on a Ketel Marte trade sooner rather than later here pretty recently. And this is not going to drag out at all. A trade's still possible for sure. But that being said, it's trending toward unlikely. And if he stays put, then that probably would seemingly rule out Bregman with the Diamondbacks. Because as I said on the previous show, I can't see a world where they're able to keep both salaries on that roster, or Bregman and Marte. So that would seemingly help the Red Sox with their effort in trying to keep Bregman, but you have the Blue Jays lurking. Although I still think and believe that they will prioritize Bichette over a guy like Bregman because Bichette's younger and they know exactly what Bichette is. And they really like Bichette there in Toronto. So you also have the Cubs involved there. They have interest. They've had interest last offseason that's maintained maintained into this offseason as well. So I don't know how it's going to play out. But that being said, I don't think the Red Sox have a bad chance here with Bregman. But it's going to be up to them to pony up and get him because they've been involved, or they had interest in Schwarber. I said it before and I'll say it again. They loved them. But did not come anywhere close to getting him. And if you want to keep a free agent, or if you want to sign a free agent, you have to get a little bit uncomfortable. I remember the old Andrew Friedman quote. And to me, Bregman's the guy they should pony up for and go get. And he's still out there. And now it's up to Craig Breslow and really the ownership group to sign off on that signing. And they absolutely should.
I remember the other Andrew Friedman quote too. I'm going to steal your best player and you're going to be angry about it. That one speaks to the offseason as well, as far as I'm concerned. He does that often. Another one, though, CS Realm HQ, noting here the other player on the market that this all affects, that I don't want to lose in the shuffle, Brendan Donovan, someone who I think if you look at a lot of recent Q&As and back and forth, and Jeff Paston's been doing a good job of answering these things, the St. Louis Cardinals do not have to trade Brendan Donovan. And it's not a situation where this is someone they have to move off of. If the offers don't match, they won't move him. This is another player that Boston has reportedly been involved on. The Giants and Mariners. Mariners are in the Marte trade sweepstakes. They're in the Brendan Donovan trade discussions. KC, Cleveland, and the Yankees are mentioned by this commenter. I don't know how viable any of those are, but what's your read on how this affects Donovan's situation if it is this game of musical chairs with Bregman, Bichette, the Red Sox, and Diamondbacks and Blue Jays? Brendan Donovan, how does he fit here? And does he have to move?
He doesn't have to move, but it also takes a big chip off of the market. And let's say the Giants, or let's say the Mariners, who are two of the front runners here for Donovan, according to Katie Wu. You would think that they would jump or become more aggressive in a guy like Donovan, or even another team would go out and become more aggressive in this as well. So this should only help Chaim Bloom and try to get the best offer possible to move him. He's moved Sonny Gray. He's moved Wilson Contreras. I wouldn't rule out a Donovan trade whatsoever. And really, I think they've done very well so far in the trades that they've made. And if they can extract as much value for a guy like Donovan as they possibly can, and truly I believe they can and will, because he is a very coveted guy on the market. Teams love him, and I think they have an opportunity to do very well in that trade. But they're not going to force it, and that does not mean it's a guarantee that he's moved before opening day. And also, we see all the comments about Okamoto. I promise you, we see the comments. There's one guy who's been asking about 15 times about Okamoto. We see him.
I want to go back to Luis Robert Jr. and the Mets here as well, because that's someone who was asked about, who was brought up in the comments when we were talking about our Dodgers, mystery move, hand on chin. And people were asking for Mets moves earlier. This is one that last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, we heard Luis Robert Jr. and the Reds and Mets were both trade possibilities. The Reds got a Dane Myers, JJ Bleday platoon in there. They collected a whole bunch of outfielders who weren't Luis Robert Jr. The Mets theoretically would remain in that market, but I don't know. I'm going to have to – I will believe it when I see it that he moves at all. What is your take on Luis Robert Jr. and maybe the Mets fit?
Yeah, I don't really – I didn't buy that Reds report at all. I don't maybe they had interest, but I never got the feeling it was ever serious. But one thing I can confidently say is the White Sox have placed a very high value on Luis Robert Jr. They even said so at the deadline that they were intent on holding on to him because they love the player and they felt like they could have him for at least 2 additional seasons. Many thought it was a smokescreen. I wrote it, and they held on to him. They maintained that value, and they still have that value placed on him now. They're not going to move him just to move him. And the Pirates like him. The Mets have been connected, but my guess is it would be tough for a team to pry him away from the White Sox. So I think he probably starts the season with the White Sox, but all it takes is one team to blow him away with an offer. But as of this point, I mean, if a team didn't do it at the deadline, I don't know. I'm having a hard time seeing them meet that asking price now, because I don't think it ever got close to the deadline either.
It just feels that way. And I do want to call attention to a comment that says Alexi Ramirez is playing for Cuba in the World Baseball Classic. Is that real? If so, that's the only thing I'm going to be able to think about for the entire rest of the year 2025. We thank everyone for joining us again here on the Baseball Insiders. Robert will be back on Friday. Hopefully we'll have some more clarity on Tatsuya Imai and the Japanese market as we head closer to those deadlines. For now, I just want to thank everyone who watched, listened, subscribed, rated, reviewed, all that stuff. Even if you asked Grok to describe what's in the video, you matter too. I don't know if Grok can do that. I don't really use Grok, but we thank you, each and every one of you, for what you contributed to the Baseball Insiders. Robert Murray, it's been an absolute pleasure doing this with you, and I can't wait to do it with you again next year.
Yeah, same here. Always a pleasure, but I appreciate everyone here who joined. Adam, I appreciate you. Sean Daly, our lovely producer, we appreciate you. See you in 2026. What do you think?
I think it's a good idea. I will see you in 2026. I'm back next week. Robert here Friday. Until then, take care, everybody.
Thank you, buddy.